So, the new fractal came out. Not a lot of people liked it. People didn't find it fun. Why? I personally really liked it, contrary to popular belief, and everyone that completely hated it and thought it was the worst fractal we have ever seen. I thought it was actually pretty fun. I think it was engaging. I thought it was punishing, and for a CM, a challenge mode, things that it should be, right. The other challenge modes, they were very fun. There are a lot of things to do, but they didn't really punish you a lot. It was not there was no sense of progression in them that much. This one you have to go for a long time to actually learn it and be good at it and essentially kill it at the end, right? But not a lot of people like that. I know it was a bit repetitive, and all the mechanics were kind of similar-ish, and you couldn't really, engage with them with the combat as much. But they were very, they were punishing. They mattered, right? You can really ignore them with something that you did with your character. And maybe the fight was a bit too long, but it was a fun fight to progress through, in my opinion. But people absolutely hated it. They said it was not hard, it was not fun, it was just gimmicky, and it was the worst fight in the fractals ever. I found it weird because all the other fights are also pretty gimmicky and also pretty repetitive. It's just that the difference, I think, is that this one, you don't really interact with the combat. You don't use ages to, nor a mechanic to shield yourself from attack. You don't dodge so much. You just, you have to do the mechanic. You have to not stand where you don't have to stand. You have to not look where you don't have to look. And kind of it, right? And the fact that they didn't like this, it was very weird to me. Because, well, I thought the people in CMs, in fractals, they wanted a hard fight to progress through, just a fight that actually matters and you have to go, but they didn't. The other fractals can really be carried by, not doing the mechanics, but, just, hey, you have a lot of damage, so much damage that the boss can't do any mechanics because, well, it gets completely deleted. You can, use Aegis and stability to ignore a lot of the attacks. If someone goes down, you can always revive them. Even if they go full down, you can revive them as well, or even use a revival. And this one, didn't. They even removed the revival. You couldn't do that. It was an actual, very difficult fight. But then I thought, man, maybe this is the same problem I have with WoW. Because on WoW, even though I do like the fights, and they're very punishing, and they're very fun, and they're very, engaging in the sense that if you fuck up, hey, you can't. You need to do the mechanic correctly, otherwise you will not make it to the end, and you will not get your reward. You will not win. But I've always thought that whenever I did those bosses, they felt very boring. They felt very... You don't engage with the combat as much, I don't think. As much as in Guild Wars 2, because in Guild Wars 2 is very dynamic. You dodge, you use boons to, do different things so you don't get attacked by that attack specifically. You use stability for that attack, you use Aegis for this one. There's a lot of things happening all the time. And sure, they are a bit overpowered, and they are. And they can make the fight very boring because you ignore almost everything, but you are engaging with the fight in that regard. You know what to do in order to make the fight essentially not delete you, not win over you, right? And in WoW, you don't really do that. In WoW is, don't stand there, don't do that, stand there in the right time, use that cooldown in the right time, coordinate with your team to use the cooldowns in the right time, and that's it, right? And that's also, that's nothing wrong with that, but it seems to me, and it seems to be very clear that Guild Wars 2 players don't like that kind of thing, right? Or, at the very least, they find it as a secondary thing, okay? It's a secondary... The main thing that they really do want is the interactivity between the boss, you, and the Guild Wars 2 combat. And I understand that. At the start I didn't, but I think I get it now. The other CMs may not be that difficult. You can carry them hard. You can do a lot of damage to the boss, so it kind of gets deleted. And you can ignore all the mechanics, by using your combat powers, your boons, your dodges, all of this. But you know what? Even if that's the case, it is very engaging. Because you're doing a lot of things with your character in order to make those things happen. And I think, honestly, it seems to be that that is what Guild Wars 2 shines on. WoW might have very punishing fights. Yeah, they do. And you couldn't even consider that they may be better in that regard, because they achieve the challenge better. But it seems to me that, you know, Guild Wars 2 players don't really care about that much. They care about being engaged in the combat, in, you know, the fight, in everything, right? While doing different things in order to achieve that victory. Whether it's actually doing mechanics, where it is using the combat to essentially ignore those mechanics, where it is doing the mechanics and trying to save your, you know, your fellow teammates because they are not, right? And you use boons or different, you know, strategies or different things that you do to essentially carry them. All these things seem to be what Guild Wars 2 really shines on. But I will say this as well: there seems to be one type of a player that really misses or really doesn't get what they want with this kind of CMs, and that's, you know, me and some other people that I know, you know, my static, other people, you know, in the chat that I sometimes see or in the community, that they do want that sense of progression in a fight, and those people do get kind of deleted, right? They do kind of get, they just don't get their content they want, and it sucks. It does suck, because if I were to ask them, they probably would want a fight like Sonqua Peak, like Arc, that is very, you know, very action oriented, very, you know, everything that Guild Wars 2 really shines on, but also punishing. And if you fuck up, it's over. You have to redo it, okay? You have to do it correctly in order to win, right? And ideally, I guess, what you would have to do is, well, get another set of difficulty settings, right? You would have to do the normal mode, which is essentially the, you know, punishing version, but very, you know, very simple, very slow, so people kind of get a hang of the fight, but still, you know, kind of need to do the mechanics in order to win, right? But of course, not as slow and big health as this one, right? Then the CM, which is actually, you know, kind of like the CMs we already have, a lot of mechanics, but maybe they don't matter as much. You can carry, you know, your teammates by, you know, essentially using boons, dodging, all this stuff. And then the last one, where not only you have to use mechanics to dodge, and you know, not only you have to use the Guild Wars 2 combat system, the boons and the dodges and all those things to actually surpass this fight, but also you can't fuck up the mechanics, because if you fuck them up, it is over and you have to do it again. Of course, I understand that Init does not have the resources in order to do this 3 game modes. I understand, but you know, I think we can have a middle ground. I honestly think, and I truly believe this, that if this CM would have had 2 more mechanics that actually engage you in a way where you can actually interact with them with the combat system of Guild Wars 2. You know, for example, a mechanic that is only purpose is there so you waste your dodge, or another one that essentially you have to stack stability or maybe ages in order to surpass this mechanic. I think people would have liked this was. I think they would have, because at the end of the day, I don't think people hate the punishing part, especially in challenge builds. I don't think they do, but they do want that third layer of engaging with the combat, engaging with the dodges, engaging with the boons, and feeling like your character is powerful enough to win and surpass the boss in this way. And I think that is actually what this fractal was. It was good with the punishing mechanics that they have, but they needed 1 or 2 things to make it so they would feel the action in the fight, instead of just, you know, being a very wild fight or just stand there and don't do the bad thing or you will die. Don't stand the red. Sometimes can get a bit boring. I do think Init seems to have understood this, because, well, not a lot of people like this, and not a lot of people like this fractal, and they're gonna make a few changes, so we're gonna talk about in the next video actually about the fractal. So I hopefully next fractal, which kind of sucks, it's gonna come on next year, does fix its problems and, you know, make a very, you know, the best of both worlds. I do hope so, and I do, you know what, I am hopeful, and I think they can do it. I think they know. But that is the video. Tell me what you think. Subscribe to the channel. Go onto my Twitch. Follow. so you can see a stream, and we can talk, we can debate all these things, and to get a lot of gold with the meta train. But on that, guys, thank you for watching. See you around. Bye bye.